Thank you very much, Ms. Smith. You've had a great deal of experience in litigating these questions. And could you please give the committee your definition of what constitutes infanticide?
What constitutes, I'm sorry?
Infanticide.
Infanticide? I think infanticide is when a baby is killed, an infant.
Okay, now, assuming that the baby is born following a botched abortion and is alive, do you think that either killing the baby by commission or killing the baby by omission is infanticide?
I think I would have to do more research on the state laws about in what.
But we have a federal Born
Alive Act.
There's a federal
Born Alive Act that requires. So I would say it was a violation of the Born Alive Infant Protection Act not to take actions to preserve the life of a viable child. But when you're talking about a pre-viable fetus, and let's remember that the
I'm talking about born alive. Pre-viable fetus is not born alive, and doesn't fall.
Well, a pre-viable
doesn't fall under this definition. Now, I guess what you are saying is that both Ms. Jessen and Ms. Oden, if there were not sufficiently concerned nurses that found them after the abortionist had not killed them during the delivery, the partial birth abortion delivery, then there would have been a crime of infanticide simply by abandoning an alive baby and not taking care of it. Am I correct in that?
Well, that certainly would be a violation of the current Born Alive Infant Protection Act.
Okay, well, that's what the law is. That's what the law is now. So I guess you are admitting that I am correct in this.
I am saying that it would be a violation of the Born Alive Infant Protection Act.
I think you're right on that.
Yeah.
You and I agree on that.
But that's the federal law. Yes.
Yes, that is the federal law.
Mm-hmm.
Well, how come abortionists do not follow the federal law when they make a mistake and the baby isn't killed prior to being born?
To my knowledge, they do follow the federal law.
Well, we have two examples sitting to your right and left of people where the law was not followed.
Well, the Born Alive Infant Protection Act wasn't in place.
I know it wasn't, but I started out by asking you to define infanticide, and there were murder laws that were on the books even before Born Alive.
Yes, the most murder laws in the country require if a fetus is born alive, then it becomes a person. So then an act taken to, in fact, cause demise at that point would be murder in most states.
And if they didn't do anything to save would it be manslaughter?
I don't know if an act of omission would have qualified in those cases. I'm not familiar with the old cases on that.
Okay.
And I don't think that they were very common. So I think we would have heard a lot more about it if they were.
Oh, okay.
And certainly now.
Well, we would be hearing a lot about it if when it happens now, and we have two witnesses who were born alive. Granted, infanticide laws were on the books in most states without the Born Alive Protection Act, and they're here. Now, I guess my question is, as you are a lawyer, you have been advising Planned Parenthood.
No, I've never actually advised.
Well, you represented their interests before the Supreme Court of the United States.
I actually didn't. I was counsel for different plaintiffs in that case, but Planned Parenthood was they were.
Oh, I'm sure Planned Parenthood didn't disagree with anything you said to the court, right?
Probably not.
Okay, well, good. We'll assume that.
I hope not.
We'll assume that for the sake of argument. Now, whether or not Planned Parenthood broke the law, when Congress sets budgeting priorities, we have to decide what's important and what isn't, and which has a higher priority and should be funded, and which has a lower priority and should not be funded in the age of a $19 trillion deficit.
Right.
Now, Could you please tell us why Planned Parenthood needs to get over $500 million of federal funding every year when there are other pressing needs such as feeding hungry children that maybe we should put that money into?
Let's be clear that Planned Parenthood is not getting any federal funding for abortions.
Well, money is fungible, Ms. Smith. You and I know that money is So the question is, whether Congress should appropriate another $500 million plus to Planned Parenthood when we could be spending that money on feeding hungry children. This is a question of priorities. I'd like to know what your priority is, Planned Parenthood or feeding hungry children.
My priority, I think funding Planned Parenthood and the services it provides is equal to feeding children, because what Planned Parenthood does is preserve women's lives that are the mothers of those children. It provides contraception
to women. How can they be the mothers of the children when children are aborted through Planned Parenthood?
Because many women go to Planned Parenthood who have children and have families. In fact, even women who are obtaining abortions, 60% of women obtaining abortions in this country already have at least one, if not more, more children. So women
I guess your priorities are different than mine.
My priorities are funding Planned Parenthood's excellent, high-quality, comprehensive health care services that go to low-income women throughout this country, women who otherwise would become pregnant unintendedly and who would then need abortions. So I would think, as somebody who opposes abortion, you would in fact support, as does Judge Kavanaugh of the D.C. Circuit, the funding of contraceptive services to reduce unintended pregnancies and to reduce the number of abortions. It's really a no-brainer. It makes no sense not to fund those services if you want to reduce the number of abortions.
Well, I don't think there's statistics that indicate that